guys, Fantastic Mr. S here again, and you're watching Dangerously Rockin' Reviews! Well, here I go again. Ahem. Well, here I go again. It's by Whitesnake. Led by vocalist David Coverdale, Whitesnake's had actually quite an interesting history. For one thing, Coverdale once sang for Deep Purple, replacing Ian Gillan, before going on to form Whitesnake. But we'll talk more about that later. Right now, I want to focus on the song in question. Here I Go Again is by far one of the band's best known songs, and rightly so. Let's start with the lyrics, shall we? Not only are they what make the song great, but they're also the reason I got into the song in the first place. And I'm not gonna lie here, it feels like they're literally talking about my own lifestyle. You know, whole story of my life kind of thing. Almost like the subject matter from The Wall. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, it can be hard to deal with sometimes, but yeah, like I said, it's not that bad. And I think a lot of people can relate to it on a personal level. That is my favorite lyric in the entire song. It sums up what the song is about perfectly, in addition to my own social situation. And the music and vocal melodies are also superbly written. They're not totally depressing like a lot of ballads are. They just got the right balance of melancholy and hopefulness without being too emotional. To me, it feels like Whitesnake's got the right idea about what loneliness is really like. Now, what you just heard about a second ago was actually a re-recording from 1987. And a lot of people don't know this, but Here I Go Again was actually recorded first in 1982 for their album Saints and Sinners. And both versions have a radically different sound. The original recording, for instance, is more 70s hard rock and blues oriented. And here's where Whitesnake's Deep Purple roots come in. On that recording were the late John Lord on keyboards and Ian Pace on drums, both of whom were founding members of Deep Purple, and were still in the band when Coverdale joined. The re-recording has that synth-infused glam metal sound that was typical of the 80s, and at that point, the drums were handled by Ainsley Dunbar, who used to play with Journey, and the keyboard duties went to Don Airey, whom you might remember played keyboards on that Ozzy Osbourne album Blizzard of Oz. Coincidentally, he would replace Lord again as the keyboardist for Deep Purple. So, which version do I like better? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Both versions were quite strong, but each of them had things about them that one version did better than the other. For example, I prefer Coverdale's performance on the re-recording a bit better, because on that version, he just sounds more into it than he did on the original. And on top of that, his voice sounds more refined and more mature. I'm not saying his performance on the original was bad, but in some places I felt like he could have put more raw power into it. Like here, for example. Okay, that was good. Now how about that performance? Yeah, much better. I like that. The production quality, on the other hand, is the other way around. While the 87 recording had some good production, the 82 version was the better produced recording, and that's thanks to the legendary Martin Birch. The whole thing's just got a raw and unpolished kind of feel to it. The guitars sound cleaner, even when they're in overdrive, and the drums... well, let's just say this is how drums should sound on a recording. The 87 recording, because of that 80s sound, has that typical 80s production with its guitar squeals and its gate reverb drums. It's cool and everything, but the original version had the guy who produced Iron Maiden's best album, so you can't really top that. The original recording had John Lord playing the organ in his typical John Lord fashion, while the re-recording went down the 80s synth route. And I'm gonna be honest, the synths on the re-recording totally blow the organ track on the original out of the water. Look, Jon Lord was a world-class keyboardist. He was capable of bringing so much to the table with whatever he did, but just not this time. The synths on the re-recording, though, not only helped Whitesnake sound more like Whitesnake, but they also demonstrated just how creative and adaptable Don Airey could be. I'm serious, that sound he laid down makes me think of ice caves with the Northern Lights. I mean, who better to help define Whitesnake's sound than the guy who played the organ solo on Mr. Crowley? As for the guitars, well, that's a tough one, because they both have their strengths and weaknesses. The guitars on the original, for example, aren't as heavy sounding as the ones on the re-recording, but they're far more original sounding. The heavy glam metal sound on the re-recording feels like it was borrowed from countless other glam metal bands of that period. And on top of that, the original has a twin guitar harmony rather than just a guitar solo, and it is just fantastic. I just wish that had carried over to the re-recording. Same deal with the vocal harmonies. They're more prominent and give the singing more depth on the original. But with that said, I think the guitar solo in that version was more memorable than the guitar duet in the original. Tough call, but I'm gonna have to go with the guitars in the re-recording, on the grounds of substance over style. Also, you'll notice that in the '82 version, Coverdale sings, but in the '87 version, the word hobo got replaced with drifter. He claims that he made that change so that people wouldn't mistake it for the word homo. Okay, I'm not really sure if anyone would have ever thought about that. See, right there. You can clearly tell that he's saying hobo, not homo. But putting that aside, all things considered, I think it's safe to say that I like the re-recorded version of Here I Go Again better. The original was awesome, and to its credit, its guitar sound, vocal harmonies, and overall production were better. But the re-recording triumphed over the original because it had more refined performances, and it helped to define Whitesnake's sound a whole lot better. I'd say check out the original if you're interested in hearing what Whitesnake sounded like in their early years. But if you want to hear them at their absolute best, then the re-recording's the way to go. And whichever version you prefer, Here I Go Again is just a great song with some relatable lyrics and just the right emotions to boot. The original's gonna get a win. Win! And the re-recording, that's an epic win. Epic win! I'm the fantastic Mr. S, and you're watching Dangerously Rockin' Reviews!